Welcome back to our discussion of question 1, which will be on your ballot in November. And again, watch for this booklet coming to your mailbox. It's got all sorts of great information about this and other ballot questions and everything you need to know for voting this fall. Our guests are Steve Crawford of Fair Share for Massachusetts and Jim Stergios of the Pioneer Institute. Let's start with you again here, Steve. Before the break, we were talking about other states. 5 other states, California, Connecticut, Maine, New Jersey, and New York, plus Washington, D.C., have this so-called millionaire's tax. What have the economic consequences been? And is that cause for concern at all?
I'm not an expert on those states, so I really can't address that. The other side likes to refer to other states, but California, New York's our neighboring state. I mean, they've been hit recently with the COVID pandemic, so that's difficult to measure. But what I can say is that even when the millionaire's tax passes, question 1 passes, our tax rate will be below 7 or 8 other states, below California, below New York, below New Jersey, very similar to Maryland, very similar to Vermont, as a matter of fact. So there are several other states who already have a higher rate than we will be at, and we're only covering millionaires. We're only covering people, a portion of income above $1 million.
Jim?
So, I mean, there are lots of comparisons to be made there. I think Elon Musk was quoted once as saying California's put itself in a terrible position where you have the great redwoods, the FANG companies, the Facebooks and all that remain and fill the coffers with money. But everything under there is dying because you've got 2,000, 3,000 companies a year that are leaving California. Connecticut's much more to point. Connecticut's right next door, very similar to us culturally. Some of the industries are very similar. They started instituting a new differentiated tax in the 1990s, 2000s. And what we've seen as a result of that is from 2008, the last recession, Great Recession, since then, they were unable to even recreate the number of jobs they had lost to even get to the 2007 level of employment. They're 48th in wage growth, 49th in job growth. Massachusetts had a stable tax environment. In fact, we lowered a tiny bit here and there. What did we get? What we got was we far outpaced the country in terms of job growth, wage growth. We're generating billions of dollars in surplus. As I said before, we've actually doubled the size of government in about 13 years. Connecticut's only been able to muster, to fuel about a 37, less than 40% increase in its state budget. Because the fact is, economic growth is good for everyone, including for the ship of state.
Rebuttal.
But it hasn't been good for everyone. We have tremendous needs in this state.
Absolutely.
And it's built on an unfair tax system where the wealthiest pay a smaller share of their income than any other income group. That is a fact.
It's not a fact on the income tax. It's because of property taxes. It's because of sales taxes. If you want to correct that, I would support you completely in lowering property taxes and sales taxes. We have plenty of revenue, billions that we can spend to address those issues. Economic growth is generating that. We will shoot ourselves in the foot.
I was responding to your questions. If you could just let me do that.
I'm so sorry.
That would be great. But what you just said confirms my point. It is a fact that the wealthy pay a smaller share of their taxes, their income in state and local taxes. The Fair Share Amendment will fix that. The very wealthy who make more than $1 million, this is how it works. If you make $1 million a year, you don't pay any extra. You will pay a little extra on your second million. I don't think that's much to ask for people who have enjoyed this advantage. And the opposition, their focus is on permanently establishing this tax break for the wealthy so that they can enjoy the privilege that they have and the rest of us can settle for less.
I want to clarify something. Are you forecasting an exodus if this passes of businesses and investors?
We are already seeing, as I said, IRS data shows there's an exodus that's 6 times faster than 10 years ago, largely to Florida and to New Hampshire. We would expect even more. But if I could just get to his point on this, which is a lot of buzzwords in there, a lot of privilege, a lot of this, a lot of that. But the fact is, economic growth has generated all kinds of billions that we can spend to address these issues. That's number one. Number two, when you say, well, you know, the second billion doesn't matter. When you are retiring and planning for 20 or 30 years without income, You know, if you're taking an extra 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 out of those people, it matters. That's money they put into their kids' education, their kids' education. It's what they do for their own long-term care. Who are you to say they don't have an extra 100,000? They played by the rules. They paid their mortgage. They worked. They probably didn't make more than $200,000, $250,000 as a family. But here you come and say, you're a millionaire. I mean, come on.
Equal time.
I'm not sure how to unpack that. I really don't, because again, you're trying to scare people. We are only taxing the richest, the richest people in this state. And I think the strongest argument that I can use is that is the primary focus of their messaging, is that millionaires will leave. Think about that argument.
That is not the message.
Think about that argument. You just made this argument, so let me just respond to it, if I may. Right? Millionaires will leave if we make our tax system fairer. If you don't continue to give us this advantage, we will leave. That is the message that your campaign is using. It is. It's on your website, Jim. I've studied very carefully and prepared. And it is a threat that if you don't continue this way, we will leave, take our money and go somewhere else.
So he asked the question, do you think people will leave? I hadn't mentioned it before that. Second thing I'd say is, if you want tax fairness, why is it you have to increase taxes and put the economy at risk? Why not lower? I'll work with you to lower property taxes. I will work with you to lower sales taxes. That's an easily fixable thing. You're going to the one thing that's not broken. The income tax is not regressive.
No,
it is progressive. If you go and take a look at property taxes and sales taxes, they are regressive. Let's fix that. But no, you're looking for more and more spending when we already have billions of dollars that even Massachusetts legislators, who are very capable of spending, are not able to spend.
Jim, you may be the only person in this state that thinks the only thing that's broken is our tax system. It is broken.
Oh, I know
but
that.
our transit system is broken. Our transportation system is broken.
With that.
Our education system is broken.
I agree with that.
You cannot afford to send your kid to state college here anymore. Kids in Lynn and Lawrence, and I've been to these schools. There are schools that are over 100 years old. We need to do something about that. Families are struggling, and for you to say that the tax system is the only problem that they have.
I'm not
the
saying
money
that.
we raise is dedicated to fixing those problems.
But it will not go to that first thing. And second thing is, if you want to go and fix those things, I work every day on fixing the Boston Public Schools. They're spending $28,500 per student. If you think another $1,000 is going to fix the Boston Public Schools, you are selling something to the voters that's just not true. It takes hard work to fix the schools. It's not just a matter of, let's spend some more money on salaries. That's not
I'm not saying spending more money on salaries. I didn't even mention salaries, although many teachers do need to be paid more.
Agree with that too.
That's why we have a teacher shortage in cities and towns all across their state. They're giving people bonuses to sign up to be teachers. And you're saying we don't need any additional funding.
We have billions in surplus. We have COVID money from the feds. Billions that they have not even spent. They spent a fraction. They don't even know how to spend that. So you're saying let's throw more money at it.
You can't plan budgeting on surpluses and federal aid.
We've done very well with that.
Trust me, you can't do that.
We've done very well with that.
I've had surpluses and I've had federal money in my business, right? You cannot plan long-term with just those funds. You need a long-term revenue source.
Right, and you'll turn us into Connecticut.
Gentlemen. No, you're the only person who talks about Connecticut. I talked about California and New York and New Jersey, vibrant, competitive states with Massachusetts, and you didn't even address that.
All right,
California
gentlemen, we've got just a couple minutes left. I'd like to split it evenly between you for sort of a closing elevator pitch, and also indicate where people can go if they want to find out more about your position on this. We'll start with you, Jim.
pioneerinstitute.org/Taxachusetts. Don't believe the hype. It's not going to go to education and transportation. That's what happened in many other states. And the legislature made very clear what its intentions are. This is not good for retirees, the tax on retirees and on small businesses. No matter what Steve wants to say about that, the data is very clear about that. The majority of people captured by this are people who are retiring or small businesses. Finally, what I'd say is 25 states have cut tax in the last 2 years. There's competition after pandemic for talent. There's competition for business. If you don't think this is going to have an impact on where people locate, I think you're wrong.
Thank you, Jim. Steve.
John, thanks for having me. Jim, thanks for the spirited debate. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We can make things better with question one. We can make our tax system fairer. We can use that money and that's dedicated to transportation education to fix our schools, give our kids a better education, get commuters out of traffic and get people who are stuck on the orange line, to work on time. It doesn't have to be the way it is now. What's missing is a dedicated revenue source. Vote yes on question one. Go to fairsharema.org, and on November 8th, Tuesday, November 8th, please vote yes on question one.
Gentlemen, thank you both. Very good job. Appreciate you being here, and thank you very much for joining us. I want to invite you to stay with WBZ-TV and CBS News Boston all autumn long for the city's best political reporting and analysis. Then cast your vote and watch it count with complete local and national coverage right here on Tuesday, November 8th.